my Zoom got overwhelmed.
That is all right. I'm going to reintroduce us here in just a minute when Roxy puts in the chat. And Sky, love that you so live your ethos so much that you are calling in from pretty much off grid. So may your internet stay strong.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. So we are back here with Regenera Rising with the Design Science Studio. My name is Marley Benedicto. I'm the founder of Harmonize and Gaia Temple. And I love bringing together artists, activists, trailblazers, and luminaries who are really cultivating their passion, their skills, and their imagination to activate their voice, to inspire others into the potential that we have as a collective to create meaningful regenerative change. And today, I'm so grateful to have Virginia Salas Castillo with us, founders of Human I Trust, and Sky, a documentarist who is creating a movie right now to protect the second largest rainforest in Central America. Virginia has introduced herself and shared her deep passion for bringing that spiritual kumbaya, playful spirit into places like the World Economic Forum to bring an awareness to how we can all really synergetically weave together a new world through joy and clear seeing. And thank you, Virginia, for introducing yourself. Sky, we're going to go ahead and bring you on now so that you can talk about your project and how this really came to be. Thanks for introducing yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me, everyone. You guys speak very naturally. I'm very impressed. I usually don't do these online things, but I'll do my best. Well, I started with the idea of making a film. I think I should put it in context of if for people who aren't aware of what's going on in Southeast Mexico. There's a speed rail that's being built. It's 1,500 kilometers of. It's not a bullet train technically, but it's a high-speed rail that is a tourist circuit that's being built by the Mexican government to for reasons unknown. And I was curious about what was going on because I live in central Mexico, where I've always wanted to have a train. And the public train system that connected all throughout Mexico kind of died in the late 90s and got just replaced with cargo. So I'm going to kind of, depends on how far you want me to go here, boringly talk about trains, but I really wanted to I guess a conversation started with my now co-director, which is what was progress, and what are we really moving towards as, we're building the infrastructures of the future today. And what I discovered was a very morphing ideology in my own mind, because as a sustainability freak, I was amazed by the idea. I thought it was incredible that they're doing this transportation project in a place like Mexico that seems so advanced and so I don't know, future thinking in a way. And when I started digging more into it, I started seeing the degrees of my short-sightedness as an environmentalist, and perhaps as in general as a critic of modern society, of neoliberalism. And if you want, I can go into those. Would you like
I think, well, what is whenever we go into, because this is all coming into the film that you've made, what is it that the film is really illuminating?
Well, the film is about, it takes the Mayan perspective, which is the primary cultural group in the region, of what this train means, because it started with sort of what the train means to me, and it started sort of as this very pro-train, like pro-progress idea. And what started from a very short reportage has now turned a year and a half later into a feature-length film, giving the Mayan people the microphone and sort of really understanding what it means to project progress onto a region. But it talks about many things about what it means to be human, really, what it means, our perception of time, our perception of progress, our perception of transportation. And I think, yeah, I don't really know how to best describe it. You have to see it. It should be out this summer.
Well, and I'm curious, what is it that is at stake. So in the cost of progress, whenever this train is being built and it's cutting through central Mexico's second largest rainforest, cutting through the Mayan people who are the stewards of the land there with their wisdom. Can you explain a little bit more what you witnessed firsthand is truly at stake?
Well, yeah, I think what's truly at stake is the livelihood of 1.2 million Mayan people. And when I say livelihood, I don't mean like life, I mean lifestyle. There's something so beautiful. I've spent most of my life trying to understand indigenous mindsets and land protectors in Louisiana and Northern Canada, and understanding like what that means to think that way. And I'm sorry, what's the question exactly? I think.
Well, you're speaking to it. You're speaking towards the loss of the Mayan culture. And I believe you also said, when I was talking to you about it, that right now the nature is supposed to have like 100 years left. And with the production of the train, it's going to, do you remember what I'm talking about here? It's going to like kill off. Can you speak to that?
Of course, yeah. So that's what I was going to go into with the degrees of my short-sightedness, is like, as I saw it as an environmentalist train being good, then I started sort of rethinking like what the trees involved in building this thing. There's a lot of media about that, like what would be at stake of building this. About 650 of the kilometers are just ripping through brand new jungle. If you can imagine the peninsula of Mexico, it really loops around the whole thing, and it goes straight through a jungle. It's technically a forest called Selva Lacandona, also known as the Mayan jungle. It doesn't have very much media about it or anything, but it is the second largest forest in Latin America or in the Americas. And it's protected to a certain degree. But as we know, the Mayan Riviera, which appeared in the late 70s, subsidized by the government to become a tourist destination, which is on the far side of that peninsula, just started spreading like crazy and just started shredding into this untouched area. So I think that's what's really at stake, is our idea of vacation is destroying. And what I'd like to get into is like the trees that were in the way are such a small degree of acreage compared to the developments that will come with the accessibility. Yeah. And I think that is a really important thing to talk about, because like people are very often like kind of short-sighted, talking about the J-wires that weren't going to be able to cross the tracks and the trees. And I mean, we're talking about one of the largest investment platforms in the world right now exists in that region. And millions of dollars are pouring in every day into buying indigenous land and building massive, basically Lego housing for people to come either on timeshares or, to buy it as an investment plan, basically. A lot of times people not even living there. So this is, anyway, that's sort of the catastrophic idea at large. And I'd love to show like a little section or teaser of the film so that you can
great. We'll come back to that. And so just sort of what I'm hearing you say is this high-speed train that's cutting through the rainforest isn't just a train track. It's actually going to create development all the way along the edges of the train track for people to move into territories that are currently inhabited by the Mayan people. And what's at stake there is that culture.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, just to give you a small example of what I'm talking about is this.
Well, let's come back to it, okay? But pin that thought. Thank you. I just want to make sure that we have time to go back, because you guys have such yummy subjects, the two of you, and I really would love to create the bridge here. So here we're talking about creating a film and creating a documentary that's about protecting the rainforest. And with Virginia, you're working really more in the digital sphere of regenerative finance and crypto. And I'm really curious, can you explain to us, how did you even begin to bridge those fields? How did you begin? What is regenerative finance for those of us that don't know? What is an NFT for those of us that don't know? And how did you think, I'm going to take this thing that seems so far over here and connect it to environmentalism?
Mm, wow. Yeah, I don't think it's far at all. I think that they need to be integrated, and that's kind of what the future looks like. And I'm super fascinated listening to you, Sky, and I'm excited to watch the teaser. This sounds absolutely incredible, and yeah, very aligned to everything that we've been dedicated to as well. So yeah, what is an NFT? Can I get a raise of hands for anyone that doesn't really understand it, or has or a lot of people are off the camera right now, but okay. But yeah, just like a one in the chat or something like that to understand people's levels of understanding NFTs and stuff like that. Okay. Is that a cactus?
That is definitely a cactus. We've taken a couple NFT classes here for those of us that are part of the Design Science Center cohort. So there's an okay understanding, but maybe you can speak to how it relates to the projects you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So an NFT is essentially a smart contract on the blockchain with which you can, really encode anything with, right? So NFTs are kind of doper than, cryptocurrency itself, because they're like a little treasure vault. And you see the image on the outside, right? Like, let's say right now you could take a screenshot of me and you could NFT that. And so, you see the image and you're like, okay, well, that's the NFT. Well, not really, right? It's a part of it. It's the image of it. But imagine you can store behind that image all types of things, right? And it could be a digital thing like music or another piece of art or whatever it could. I'm actually writing a book right now as NFTs. So each chapter is going to be a different NFT. And so when you buy the NFT, you get to download, the PDF of the book as well as me reading it. So, you can store different things. And when I heard about NFTs being sold for $60 million, like people's famous NFT. And, now we have the Bored Apes, which are an incredible case study to watch as well. These, 10,000 monkey pictures that are now going for multi-millions of dollars that, initially were maybe $300 or $500. So I was just so amazed. I was like, wow, $60 million. How many trees are we planting with $60 million? And it's cool because a lot of these NFT artists are actually planting trees with, the money or donating it to charities. And so I think that blockchain and cryptocurrency is this incredible opportunity for the redistribution of wealth. And what I've been devoting the last 6 years of my life to is educating our community and as many people as I could on, blockchain and crypto fluency, to be able to adapt some of this technology to bring the wealth into the conscious communities and help regeneration. And so, yeah, so ReFi stands for regenerative finance, essentially utilizing different financial tools that are doing more good than they are extracting. And so it's this, just re-engineering that we get to do of saying, okay, well, all right, if there's a $60 million NFT that's being sold, and maybe a lot of people are donating money, maybe they aren't, let's just have that be part of the functionality, the utility, the treasure chest. How about we create NFTs and then download was NF trees, yes, to plant trees. So yeah, I thought I had this incredible download when I was in Costa Rica. We were at breakfast with 10 of my friends, and then my co-founder of the Human Trust Foundation, Jonathan, was there with me, and we were just so excited, so lit up. And we had another artist at the table and a musician, and we were talking about all these different NF trees that we could be making. So yeah, after kind of getting to work and just conceptualizing the whole thing, we launched our first NF tree collection at Art Basel in December. We sold 10 NF trees and planted 325,000 seeds in Hawaii so far, in Kauai, where we're remediating the soil that was poisoned by Monsanto with hemp. And so we have around 170,000 acres there that are available for remediation. And we've built an NF tree collection that is replanting 17 billion trees. As it currently stands, it's valued at $200 million. And that's kind of like the first piece. And now we have a lot of amazing collaborations coming up with galleries and artists. We just got connected to Embassy of the Free Mind, that have the largest esoteric collection of books in the world aside from the Vatican. So like early works of Plato and Socrates and things like this. And so it's really cool because we get to regenerate the world with art. And, in the case of the Embassy of the Free Mind, a lot of these artists and like the works are extraordinary, have been persecuted for, their open thinking, their free thinking. And now we get to utilize that art to plant trees and do good. And the collection is called the Earth Trust. So essentially we're building a trust fund for the earth with NFTs, and NFTs are the first part of that, but we're also planning to clean waterways and invest in education, orphanages. I have this dream as well of making orphans trust fund babies with NFTs. And so it's just, the list goes on of all the fun that we can have. And essentially it's a collaborative collection. So we're looking to collaborate with thousands of different artists and nonprofits and creators to come together to, be financial stewards for the earth.
Thank you. Thank you for doing everything you're doing. I remember when we met back in December at Out Basel at that first NFT launch, and it's been such a pleasure to be following your journey, watching as you go to Hawaii and you're planting those trees and really helping contribute to a regenerative planet. So thank you so much. What I love here is I feel like we have like such a span between the two of you, and I know that regeneration and sustainable living is something that's important to really both of you. And Sky, I'd like to bring you forward a little bit, the way that you were raised in a very close to the earth, considerate way that is extremely sustainable with your home, with your personal lifestyle. And I'm curious, how does your passion for this subject, how does that inform the film? And where are the bridges there?
Yeah, sure. It's a big question. I think everything in a way, because coherence. Well, I guess I can give you a little bit of the backstory. My parents built a house that, from the ground up, using the materials on the land. We catch all our own water, and we live completely off grid. We have, of course, solar, and we grow as much food as we can, considering how dry it is. Half the year we don't grow barely any food. But it became like clear to me, let's say, not like clear, but very clear, that it's possible, it's possible to sort of change the way society is mass believing itself to be. And that, I think, is the structural skeleton of like everything I work towards, is understanding that it's possible. It's not like a whatever, like it could be kind of thing. And I studied LCAs, which is life cycle assessments, for a while at Columbia, and it was brutal to see like the micro every little thing you do, everything you make, everything you touch, and the impacts that no one has an idea, that no one understands the impact that they make and they do in the world as they maneuver it. And the last series I worked on was all about that, and it got like really nitpicky and sort of overwhelming, I think. But and then I realized that, yeah, like a lot of the change that has to happen is spiritual, and understanding that we can live simpler, have simpler lifestyles, and find joy in things that aren't as jet setting and as Instagrammable as they are now. And I guess I draw a lot of my references, like I said, from the indigenous population that is currently still living in harmony with the earth, which is a very small amount of that population. But yes, does that answer your question?
It does. And I'm curious, does your film speak to these values? And if so, what aspect of the film speaks to these values?
Interesting. Good question. I think it's about investment, right? So it's really about the privatization of the planet. That's what the film's, I think, about on a lot of terms, when we're not talking ethereally about customs and other things. So I think long-term investments versus short-term investments. I think right now we're really caught up in the sort of personal experience that we have. So much so that we're not considering even our children or our grandchildren. And I think what the film highlights is showing what we've seen in a pattern. Luckily, we have Cancun as a sort of massive reference of something what happens when a government subsidizes an area to be colonized, let's say, or not to be I use that word too lightly, but to be bought, and to be sold. And that the investments, what we try to show is that what you do with your money, what you do with your time, should be based on this idea of long-term thinking. Not only because it's also fun and cool, but but because it makes you consider it to your future generations. And I think that is something that we somehow managed to sort of swallow through the cultural norms that are presented around us. So yes, I think that's what it really is about. It's about investment. It's about investment of time and investment of money, and how to rethink that and reanalyze that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, and I'm interested in this too, because one of the projects that Humans I Trust is working on a trust village. And so whenever we think about how can we begin to live differently, Virginia, I'm curious, can you describe, like, what is a trust village, and who is Humans I Trust Foundation unites New Earth leaders to be in collaboration and co-creation to build trust villages around the world. Who are New Earth leaders, and how do you find these people, and what are the trust villages? Please go into that.
Oh, wow. No one's ever asked me what a trust village is. This is so exciting. I'm like, what is a trust village? It's basically, I guess, my idea of heaven that I share with other people. Like, what does it look like for us all to live in harmony, and to grow our own food, and to know where our food is coming from, and to have clean water, and to educate and raise our children from a space of love and connection and play, where we can come together and, teach them together the things that we know, and have really different classes and courses that are immersing ourselves in the jungle. I had this vision when I was 19, and now I'm turning 33 next month. So I've been seeing this for a really long time. I actually, for my honeymoon, I traveled around the world for 8 months, and I was looking for land, and I was guided to go to Costa Rica, and then I ended up in Nicaragua, and I was horseback riding for 2 months and looking for land to build this first trust village. And I just saw this big tree and a whole tribe gathered under it and singing songs and reading poetry. And so I've just been following that vision for a really long time. And the way that it looks like right now, we actually have our first 2 trust villages. One is Mandala Springs in Asheville, where we have a chocolate factory with the healthiest chocolate in the world without sugar, or anything that harms your body, and where the herbs and spices are gathered from the land and put in the chocolate. And then the second trust village that's being built right now is Camp Good Vibes, where we're going to have the Good Vibes honey, and the honey is going to plant trees as well. And so and so these are villages that we didn't have to raise for or build or anything. These were just villages from our where our community had the same visions and already saw this. And so we're uniting different villages and under the name of trust villages, where our communities can come and they know that these are spaces that are created with a lot of intention and are in alignment with our values. And you said, what are New Earth leaders, right? Wait, I think you're on. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Who are the founders of those two villages? I'd love to, like, I know I know all about Mondelez Springs, but can you speak to the people who created those two villages and are part of Humans I Trust?
Yeah, so Roblin Festi, who is one of our DAO members and luminaries, is an incredible being that has had, this vision for a very long time. He's been building Mandala Springs for 6 years. He also raised $17 million to save this really ancient cloud forest in Guatemala. And he's like one of the most boss Jedi sort of ecologists that I know. Like, he just like knows about like all the plants and all the animals and all the fungi, and he's wonderful. He's a really powerful being. And the founder of Camp Good Vibes is Mark Rubin, who is kind of like my like soul uncle, soul dad, who's going to be here with us as well in Switzerland for the World Economic Forum. And he bought that land in Virginia, funnily enough, when he was 15 years old. And he was the youngest landowner at that time, or the youngest person to buy land in Virginia at 15. And he had this vision for his village from when he was 10 years old. And now he's in his 50s, and it's just all coming to life. And he's a New Earth systems architect. He's working on 16 different companies, and he's kind of the one that sees things from a really big bird's eye view, and he brings people together. And he wrote a book called Money is Honey. And he wants to do the first book launch on the moon. And he's just a wonderful human. And it's really cool because he's just always been like this, like since he was 10. But it wasn't until he found Humans I Trust that he knew that there was other people like this and other people seeing what he was seeing. And it's completely quantum leaped his timeline. He had a goal to plant 1 billion trees by 2045. And since, we all came together, he's now accelerated that timeline to like 2028. So it's just like a really cool example of how when we come together and we find other people that are also doing what we're doing, it just makes everything so much quicker. And so that's a little bit about Mark and Rob, two just absolute angels.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing them in. One of my favorite things about Human I Trust is the compilation of really unique, vibrant humans that make it. And there's no way that any one person could do what it is that we can do when we really come together. And so the second part of that question was, the foundation is comprised of New Earth leaders. I'm curious, how are you finding these unicorns? How are you finding these New Earth leaders that want to launch books on the moon and plant 2 billion trees and have chocolate factory sugar-free properties? Like, how do you find them?
I beam out a rainbow straight from my heart, and then they see it, and then they jump on it, and then they kind of like slide with me on cloud castles.
Yes, I'm a pure testament to that. That's exactly how it happened.
That's exactly
how it works. Yeah, it's like it's really attraction. There's actually a really good video of me on YouTube. If you Google Virginia Salas Castillo Abraham Hicks hot seat, right when COVID was becoming popular in the beginning of 2020, I was on an Abraham Hicks cruise, and it was talking about. It's just a really good video that kind of explains it. It's all about our energy that we put out into the world and what we embody and what we believe. And it's like anytime I receive a new like dream, download, realization, bit of information, it creates a new field of awareness. And when we can share it with someone else and we can create a shared field of awareness, it just expands it. And so, yeah, I've just been doing a lot to really do my sort of inner work and clear my ancestry and trauma and scarcity that I received from, having a Russian, Ukrainian mother and a German father, who was grown up here during, just after the Second World War. And so just like clearing that and just believing that it's real and it gets to be easy, and that there's people that are already doing these things, and let's come together. And so I think it's really like the purity of energy and heart and alignment that accelerates things. It's taken a while, and I feel like we're here at a really good place with this whole global tribe.
Thank you. It's beautiful. Whew. This is really beautiful. Something that's really yummy about this talk is how we're going to like solution opportunity. And I like bringing it back and forth because it's grounding it, right? We have our roots, we have our branches, and we get to be both. And Sky, one of the things that really sparked the initiation of this documentary was the philosophy debate on the cost of progress. And I'm really curious, like, what do you think needs to be met most in the world right now? Like, what challenges do we need to meet, and why? Like, can you understand how this? Can you go deeper into the film? And maybe this would be a good time to show a clip from the film of what is it that we're looking to meet, and what is the cost of progress? What is the illusion of progress, and what is that? So maybe, take us deeper into that.
Well, I think I'll show the clip at the end. Maybe we'll end with the bad news. I think the trailer that I'm going to show you kind of does show a little bit about that, about what's at stake. But I can tell you from my personal reference or my personal life and experience, that I think social justice is really the most powerful geoengineering tool that exists. And I think, like, sort of divulging from the irony of ourselves is also important, and looking at bigger issues like the patriarchy are really important, and giving the power to a different set of people that are in different social categories is essential to progress. I think, what else? I think we should give all land that is not owned privately right now, while there's the little that's left, to the indigenous groups that are respectable enough to actually maintain it that way. Completely, I guess I have a lot to say on the subject, but there's an inner progress that kind of has to happen in a lot of people. And I really don't blame people for climate change. I don't blame individuals, but it is really important to look into ourselves and try to find a better version of ourselves that we can kind of perpetuate, if that makes sense. I think maybe I'll show the clip, and you guys can kind of see what I'm working on there, and what some of the people think that are a little bit more outspoken about their heritage and their version of the world and how it functions, and how that interrelation experience. Like, I was talking with someone today about psychiatry, psychoanalysis, and how a psychologist is always limited to the connection that you have with other people. And that's always what they're talking about. It's always what people are talking about. And that is such a small amount of the connections we have with the world. Like, we're dealing with an entire living entity that's all around us, and all we can do is talk about how other people make us feel. It's sort of no offense to psychoanalysis, which I have my own things about, but I think there's a lot of evolution that has to happen there, a lot of progress around what we analyze into our interrelationship with everything around us. I think that is where I'll leave you, and then I'll show the clip. Do you want me to put a link up, or should I just share my screen?
Well, what you can do is if you click the share screen button, and then whenever you click share screen, you're going to see on the left-hand side a little checkbox that says share sound and optimize for video clip. And then just click those little things. And so that way we can hear everything.
Optimize for video clip. Desktop 1. Cool.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to jump into it. It's just 3 minutes, I think. Should I share sound or unshare sound?
Yeah, share sound and optimize for video clip. Thank you.
Sorry, I just have to get permission. Oh, it looks like I have to quit and reopen. Is this going to be bad? Do you want to, can I send you a link and you want to share it? Or?
Yeah, why don't you send me, why don't you send a link and then I can share it? That sounds good.
Sorry about that.
All good.
I'm going to drop it in the chat so you guys have it.
And you're okay with everybody having access to this video after the course?
Yes,
after
this video is live. Yes, it's okay.
Okay.
To everyone.
Great. So let's see. For some reason, I'm not able to open Vimeo. Do you want to try? Do you want to try, Virginia, and see if that's something that you can do?
Yeah, Vimeo is blocked in Bali, actually. Yeah, now that you say it, I can do it.
Wow.
Thank you.
Cool.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's so sad.
Mm.
Let me see where.
I think while we're loading this, I just wanted to really quick sort of add some of the racist qualities of the revolution that is taking place within that movement of what we're about to see, because there's been a lot of highlighting of sort of white activists that are talking about the jaguars and the trees, and there's really been absolutely no mainstream media about the 1.2 million Mayans that are living in the area that their lifestyles are in risk. And the hundreds of activists that, you know, are working hand in hand with top biologists are not being heard just because of sort of their. So that is a part of progress too, is understanding that we need to start listening to the voices of different groups of people that are more integrated to the problem.
Do you see a solution for getting those people's voices heard? Creating that integration?
Hopefully this film will do part of that job.
Okay. Great.
Okay, great. I have now logged into Vimeo. All right.
Look at this teamwork. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Share sound. Okay. Let's see. All right, everybody, drum roll, big moment. Screening here. El espejito, the little mirror, is that what it is? El espejito? Beautiful. Yes. El espejito for the first time here with us live. Okay. And action.
Y nosotros nos estamos preparando, porque esa energía que viene es como el agua que llega a las gentes y tenemos que saber nosotros cómo orientar a esa gente. Si en un cenote entraban diarios 100 personas, con el tren van a entrar 1. Tenemos acá nuestra agua limpia, pura, y otros quieren venir a saciarse. Es nuestra responsabilidad decir, adelante, pero ámalo, cuídalo.
Siempre todo nos lleva a lo mismo, ¿verdad? A trabajar con las grandes empresas. Si hay mucho turismo, pues hay trabajo. No hay otra cosa. Sí, la verdad.
El tren está trayendo personas con una mente distinta. ¿Qué es la mente distinta? ¿Qué es lo que quiere la gente? Esas grandes compañías no quieren el beneficio de nadie, quieren su propio beneficio. ¿Cómo van a lograr ese beneficio? Arrebatando la tierra. Entonces, esas personas van a venir de otros lugares y los van a engañar. 500 años después, se presenta el dilema otra vez. El espejito a cambio del oro. O sea, así con eso terminamos.
Es un magnífico mecánico, arregla todas las motos. Sí.
Cool. Thanks for watching, guys. So that's like a little tiny snippet. I'm just watching how dated that is right now, but that is a sort of an idea of what's at stake. And what it is referring to there is the Spanish used to trade mirrors for gold with the Mayans for hundreds of years. And I mean, just 170 years ago, there was a Mayan revolution and they almost won. So that is something to really keep in mind. They're really one of the last uncolonized regions. Ideologically, let's say, at least in this part of the world. So yeah, I just wanted thanks for watching.
And so Sky is, thank you. It's absolutely a piece of art. And I think that's what makes it so compelling is that's how we get people to listen is we make things of beauty that compel us to go deeper. And that's really what this film does. I'm curious, what is the impact that releasing this film on a large scale way could have?
So yeah, right now, what a lot of the activists are talking about is as the region, as I mentioned, it's a 1,500 kilometers that wraps all the way around through, imagine Cancun being here and Chiapas being here. So it kind of cruises all the way around. And this section already had a train that existed for almost 80 years now. And that stopped being a passenger train, and that makes total sense to be refitted and kind of reused for the people to travel by train. This actual section of the train is a really good idea. But the 650 kilometer part that it wraps below and goes through the jungle, that is basically going to just shred to pieces any virgin landscape in Tulum, Bacalar, Escárcega, Felipe Carrillo Puerto. All these are places that are sort of, are feeling the intense like surge of northern, let's say Western money coming and buying it out. And it's just starting in Tulum. So if you can imagine Tulum's here, it's just going to wrap all the way around, and all of those regions are just going to get completely wiped out. So the plan now is to since they're right here, they've just gone to Cancun. Right now, everyone's putting all their effort into making sure that it doesn't happen. So we're releasing this film as quickly as possible to try to make sure that they can use this as a tool to persuade the masses, basically, that it makes no sense to have a train there. And in fact, that section of the train could be used to connect all the way to Mexico City, the area of train that already is from Chiapas, the start of this could have been used to switch over, and all those resources could connect to the rest of the country and actually make it a viable form of public transportation for people to go on vacation to regions that are already have been, splurged by the riches of comforts. So that is kind of that is the main goal, is to just redirect those resources and change and leave the area as it is, essentially.
Okay, beautiful. And what is it right now that you need support with? Like, how can we help you as this one person, really two people? It's just you and your co-director. You guys have done so incredibly much together as two people. What do you need? How can we, with foundations like Humans I Trust, foundations like Design Science Studio, like Gaia Temple, and Harmonize, how can we give back to support through our networks?
Well, I think right now we're raising, we have like $20,000 that we still need for distribution. So we're raising that money right now, but it's kind of all done kind of like, if you're interested in giving to that, you would be given associate producer credit. And that would be kind of, that's the money section. But the main section is, I think, being able to share it and giving it the credibility it deserves, as mainstream media could possibly kind of try to push it aside. To avoid the conversation involving their populists, let's say, to keep it kind of simple. So yeah, it's really about giving this thing credibility, and please reach out to anyone who is interested or has something that comes to mind that is relevant or relative. We're still looking for just a distribution plan. We're really improvising it right now with our two producers. And we're looking for more people to come be a part of it and help us push it as far and wide as we can, because Mexican television is not interested in buying it.
And yeah, that makes sense, right? I'm curious for you, like, let's just say you have a magic wand and for a second you can suspend all disbelief. But if you had a magic wand and this was like the most mesmerizing, captivating, like perspective changing distribution, who would you want to partner with? Who would be the people on your platform, part of your campaign? Where would you be showing this? Like, bring this into the imagination and like really don't hold back. This is your magic wand moment. What would you really, really want to create with specifics?
Well, honestly, it's just about reach, right? So if you want to talk about reach, I think it's just about having it kind of be on the biggest platforms that exist out there, which unfortunately right now are things like Netflix and Amazon Prime, which I think, it'll eventually hopefully end up there. And I think that besides that, the people I'd like to be involved are absolutely anyone and everyone who'd like to be. And the more recognized your name is, or something like, for example, the artist of Café Tacuba, who's a very kind of the rock star, sort of like the Flea of Mexico, is in touch with us, like putting his support behind us. And it's cool to to have this sort of name, but anyone in particular, it doesn't really matter. Anyone who's interested in saving the patronage of Mother Earth and understanding that we have a lot of evolving to do, and I would be honored to work with. And the more reach they have, the better.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Wow. So as you go into this, there's a shared passion here to save the trees, to plant new trees, to preserve culture, to create progress with an awareness of what is the way that we can create progress that's really considering all sentient life. And Virginia, I'm really curious, whenever we go into this really impressive foundation that you've created with Humans I Trust, and also what I resonate with you on is your imagination and your creativity. What is it that, looking at this project and knowing the people that you've met and the expanse of things that you've seen done, where could you see this going? And how could something like NFTs help actually bring money to fund this project?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you mentioned the producer credit, right? So it's that's such a value for people that want to, become a part of this world, of the art world, and of the the film world in a bigger way. And so there's also a way to raise with utilizing NFTs, and it doesn't it doesn't only have to do with raising capital, but also raising awareness. And like the doors that are being opened to us, with the Human Trust Foundation and with the Earth Trust, are so expansive and wide at the moment, because so many people want to get into NFTs, and so many people want to tap into this multi-billion-dollar market. And so it's just like creating more opportunity and conversations. And I think with this documentary specifically, like that could also be the case. So I think there's a lot of, just like ideas and fun to be created. And Sky, I'd love to be a support in any way that I can. So let's definitely stay in touch. And if it's either with the NFT angle or also just introducing people. I mean, I don't know if you know Abuelo Antonio, he's the leader of the Mayans. So like, fun fact, I started the Mayan cryptocurrency fund when I was living in Tulum. So Abuelo Antonio, I think, is a really wonderful human to be connected with this project. And he has a lot of supporters and a lot of people that want to, be connected and support the Mayans. And he's not only the leader of the Mayans in Mexico, but in entire Central America. So that's an amazing person. And then, introductions to potential donors and investors and people in the media space. And I think you're right in terms of the biggest platforms, Netflix and Amazon. It is important to give it that global reach.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it too. Let's stay in touch.
Yeah. Thank you for the amazing work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, you better stay in touch. And Virginia, what about you? You've got so many initiatives going on. What can Humans I Trust? Like, how can we support you right now? What is it that you're really looking for as you expand?
Yeah, I think we're at the moment, we're really just calling in just deep structure and foundation. So anyone that is that wants to be a part of a DAO. So Humans I Trust is a DAO, and this is really about coming together and co-creation and having people that are excited to, that have like the skills and the heart and the expertise, and to be a part of a new Earth movement like this that's really looking at, a bigger ecosystems builds. So members of the DAO, humans that we can trust, and just anyone that's interested in planting trees. If you want to plant trees or have connections to big corporations, that should be planting trees, that need to offset their carbon, that have the ability. It's like us as Earth warriors. Sometimes we're just like, like burn them all down, but what does it actually look like for us to collaborate, right, with like Coca-Cola or Shell or some of these companies, right? Like, how can we bring more consciousness and awareness into these organizations? And I've met people recently, Marley, since you and I had this conversation about Coca-Cola, it's been coming more into my awareness. And so creating NFTs for, artists, influencers, corporations to actually do good and to utilize their influence and these funds for good, and where they also benefit because they get an NFT with it, and they get to hold an investment in their treasury. So so planting trees and members of Humans I Trust that are here to really share with their hearts and create from their hearts.
Oh my goodness, thank you. There are so many of those artists and visionaries here on this call, part of this cohort. So I'm going to share my screen here so that you guys can see how to stay in touch with Virginia and Sky. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of this panel today. And feel free, if you have questions, you can put your questions in the chat right now. I think we're coming down on the end of our time. So take a screenshot here so that you can really stay in touch with Virginia and the Humans I Trust. Get involved with the Angels Wings NFT, join the Humans I Trust DAO with their soulbound NFTs, and get an NFT tree and plant trees. You can come to their events. Their events are absolutely amazing and just help spread the word about the magic that's being created. And same with Sky, get in touch with Sky. Right now, he's really looking to raise funds to bring this film onto a tour, and also connections so that he can get it onto platforms like Netflix and Amazon. If you know aligned influencers, if you're somebody that just wants to volunteer hours to helping with the behind the scenes, reach out. Here's his email, skyowenrichie@gmail.com.
Marley, can I add something really, really quick?
Absolutely.
I just wanted to say, I forgot to mention this, but we're about to do, since the film is pretty much done, anyone who is interested in actually watching it, we'd have to talk and I'd be glad to share it. But the thing is that we're about to take it on the massive tour and show it in all the communities that we went to and filmed, which is about 20 different communities. There are 35 people that are involved in the film that actually appear in the film, and they'll all be there. And it's going to be an amazing film tour. And yeah, that's what the $20,000 is for, is we're trying to raise that sort of cinema tour and really bring it straight to the people via straight up van and a blow up projector. So I'm really happy about that. And if anyone is interested or has connections in the peninsula, please be happy to set up a screening or anything like that in that region. I forgot to mention that. That is important.
Yes, let's do one in Tulum with Humans I Trust.
Yeah.
And imagine if we got Mayan Warrior on that, it would just bring it together, right? This would be really easy. So I want to be part of that. So bringing in the next part is Harmonize, Gaia Temple and Harmonize, which are my two babies, which is what this panel is held under. All of you have such important visions. You have these passion projects, and it's really up to each and every single individual to become the leader and change. So if you want to empower your voice, if you want to amplify your message more to create positive change and be a steward of the earth like we're talking about today, reach out, learn more about Harmonize, and learn how to activate your voice. This is truly one of my greatest passions, is empowering these messages, because it takes our voice to create change. And thank you. Thanks, you guys. Such a beautiful panel. And if you have any questions, I know that we are running up on our time here. I just want to do a quick time check. What is our time check? What are our questions?
We are a little bit over time. And yeah, we're about 15 minutes over time. So I wonder if we want to take questions in a breakout room. And I know, Marley, you're performing later, so you're not leaving us for long, but Virginia and Sky, I would love for people to have an opportunity to connect with you if they want. So what do y'all think about that? Or if there's any burning questions, if anyone wants to put them in the chat.
Well, yeah, let's just do a raise your hand. If you can raise your hand, your digital hand or your real hand, if you want to go into a breakout room right now. If you want to go into a breakout room, raise your hand. And if not, then y'all have each other's contact information and we can just close this nice and clean.
Smiles, but no wiggly fingers. Cool.
All right.
Crystal clear.
Woo, and it's 3 a.m. in Germany. Virginia, thank you for your commitment. Thank you so much, Virginia and Sky, for coming together and just sharing your very unique, broad perspectives and the real work that you're doing. I love learning from both of you. I'm so inspired by you. And thank you, Design Science Studio, for hosting this talk today.
Thank you for being with us, Virginia and Sky. Thank you, thank you.
Yes, it was super nice to give me the opportunity of practicing my speech.
We'll get you in Harmonize.
With you all, love you so much, and yeah, yes, and more, please.
Thank you guys. Amazing panel, amazing conversation to witness. Thank you, Harmonize, Gaianize, Virginia, Sky. Thank you so much, Marley. You're amazing. We can't wait to hear you later as well and to continue these conversations in the future. We have such an abundance of fabulous conversations unfolding here in these spaces. It's like you can hardly even engage as much as you would like to, and so that's a good thing. That's a good problem to have, I suppose. So thank you, Sky, Virginia, Marley, everybody out there at home. We're going to wrap up our stream here for a few minutes, but we'll be back.